of it is, do you want me? And wow, you guys, this feels intense already because I do not feel this is going to be some casual little check-in. I feel like this is someone reaching a point where they can no longer sit in uncertainty and they can no longer keep dancing around what this connection really is. So if you have been feeling lately like the energy has been getting louder, like this person has been circling your mind more strongly, like there is something unsaid pressing against the connection, I feel like you are right. Because this energy feels like a buildup, it feels like the silence has become uncomfortable. It feels like feelings have reached a place where they want an answer, they want direction, they want to know if what has been living between you can actually become something real. So let us first take a look at the overall energy between you and this person right now. We have the Strength card coming through, and wow, this is powerful because this is telling me this connection has endured a lot already. It has carried tension, longing, restraint, unspoken desire, and still it has not disappeared. If anything, I feel like what has made this so hard is exactly what has made it stronger. There is a bond here that has kept holding on, and here is trust. This situation is calling for you to have faith. Yes. So I feel like for many of you, a lot of this has had to be carried on intuition. Maybe you have not had the proof you wanted. Maybe you have not had the reassurance you wanted. Maybe you have only had small signs, subtle behaviors, the way they look at you, the way the energy changes around them, the way your heart reacts when they come close. But trust is saying you have not been imagining it. Here is deep knowing, and I love that so much with trust because it really confirms that the soul has known what the mind has been struggling to prove. There has been an inner recognition here, and I feel both of you have sensed that this is not ordinary. The question has never really been whether there is something here. The question has been what happens when someone finally says it, finally names it, finally asks, do you want me to? Here is a time for healing, and wow, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like this conversation is not only about desire, it is also about vulnerability. It is about everything that has been carried quietly. It is about the fear of rejection, the fear of misreading the bond, the fear of wanting more than the other person wants, the fear of opening the heart and not being met there. So yes, there is tenderness around this, a lot of tenderness for many of you. This person has been trying to be strong, trying to keep their feelings under control, trying not to make the situation too obvious. But I feel like the more time passes, the harder that has become because when a bond has real emotional gravity, it does not get easier to ignore just because someone stays quiet. Usually it gets louder. Usually it starts asking for embodiment, and that is exactly what this feels like. Here is loyal heart. Wow. So this is not someone who just feels a passing attraction. This is not someone who is lightly curious and then moving on. I feel like their heart has stayed with you even during the silence, even during the confusion, even during whatever distance or delay has been in the way. And I feel like your heart has done something similar. That is why this conversation has so much weight. It is not beginning from nowhere. It is emerging from a deep emotional history. I also feel like Spirit is really emphasizing that once this talk happens, the energy cannot go back to the old form. Because once someone says, do you want me, they are no longer hiding behind implication. They are standing in the truth of desire. They are asking for honesty. They are opening the door for this connection to become something lived instead of something only felt. And I feel like that is why the title message says this will change everything, because it will, once the heart asks to be answered, the whole path shifts. So let us keep going because already this feels like a connection that has reached the edge of a major turning point. And I feel like the question itself is going to carry all the emotion that has been waiting underneath the surface. This person is getting close to saying what they really want, and what they really want to know is whether your heart wants the same thing. And I keep getting that even before the words arrive, you may feel the pressure of them in the energy. More dreams, more emotion, more remembering, more sensitivity in your body. Because when a conversation like this is preparing to enter the physical world, the soul often feels it first, and I feel you are starting to feel it now. Okay, so let us move into your side of this connection because I feel like your heart has been carrying a lot, maybe more than anyone around you even knows. We have the High Priestess and the Page of Cups, and wow, this tells me you have been feeling this on a very deep level. Even if you tried to stay logical, even if you tried to distract yourself, even if you tried not to read too much into it, there has still been that quiet inner knowing that something real exists here. With the High Priestess, I feel like you have picked up on the subtle shifts, the glances, the changes in tone, the moments that seem small on the outside but loud in the soul. And with the Page of Cups, I feel like your feelings have remained soft, maybe guarded at times, maybe confused at times, but soft. There is still innocence in the way your heart approaches this person because some part of you has felt that the connection itself is genuine. Here is mirroring each other's self-image relationships reflect our wounds and introspection. Yes, that makes so much sense because this connection has probably brought up a lot in you. For some of you, it has touched fears around rejection, around not being chosen, around wanting clarity but not knowing whether it is safe to ask for it. For others, it has brought up a longing to be seen fully, clearly, and honestly by someone you feel deeply pulled toward. Here is yearning, and wow, that word is exactly right. This has not felt casual to you. There have been moments where the missing, the wondering, the replaying, the hoping, all of that has felt almost too much to carry. And I feel like part of what made it so hard is that you could feel there was more here, but you may not have known how or when that more would finally be spoken. Here is the Two of Swords and the Two of Wands. So yes, I feel some of you have been standing at a painful crossroads. One part of you has wanted to stay loyal to what your intuition has been telling you. One part of you has wanted to trust that this person would eventually come forward, eventually speak, eventually stop hiding behind half measures. But another part of you has been asking how long you can stay suspended in uncertainty without losing peace. And I feel like that inner conflict has been exhausting because your heart has not wanted to give up, but your spirit also wants rest. You do not want fantasy. You do not want to keep yourself attached to an idea that never becomes tangible. You want truth. You want something that can stand up in the real world, and that is why this incoming conversation matters so much. It feels like it could finally bring direction to what has felt emotionally unfinished. Here is the Queen of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles. Wow, you have invested a lot. Maybe not all through words, maybe not all through visible action. But inwardly, spiritually, emotionally, you have poured time, patience, and energy into this bond. And I feel like Spirit is acknowledging that you have not been careless with your heart here. You have cared deeply. You have tried to understand the connection rather than force it. Here is the Five of Cups and the Six of Pentacles. So I do feel there have been moments of sadness, disappointment, and feeling like the balance just was not there. But even then, your deeper desire has remained simple. You want mutuality, you want honesty. You want the kind of exchange where you are not the only one feeling, not the only one waiting, not the only one wondering what is possible. And I feel like that is why your energy in this reading feels so poignant. You are not asking for too much, you are asking for truth. Here is the Queen of Swords and the Ace of Swords. And I actually love this for you because it tells me your energy is becoming clearer now. Yes, your heart is still soft. Yes, the feelings are still there. But you are also reaching a point where you need real answers. I feel like your soul is no longer willing to just live in implication forever. You want the truth in plain language. You want to know where you stand. You want to know if all this emotional weight is going to become something or remain suspended. And I feel like if this person really does come in with that question, do you want me? Your heart may respond with a lot of emotion. But your deeper self is going to want more than a dramatic moment. You are going to want sincerity. You are going to want consistency. You are going to want to feel that the conversation is not just a burst of vulnerability that disappears the next day. And I feel Spirit is validating that completely. Your longing is real, but so is your self-respect. Your hope is real, but so is your need for clarity. And I feel your whole inner world knows something is close. Now, not fantasy, not wishful thinking, but real movement. Your heart has been bracing for truth, and I feel it is about to get the clarity it has been asking for. Now let us move into this person's energy, because I feel like this is where the tension has really been building under the surface. We have the King of Swords and the King of Cups together. Wow. So this is someone who has been trying very hard to stay composed, rational, measured, and in control, while at the same time carrying feelings that have become much deeper than they intended. With the King of Swords, I feel like they have been trying to think their way through this, organize it, contain it, manage it, maybe even distance themselves from it at times, but the King of Cups tells me the heart has not cooperated with that plan. The emotions have stayed, the tenderness has stayed, the pull has stayed. And I feel like the more they tried to keep everything neat and under control, the more obvious it became to them that this connection was not going anywhere. Here is not enough. Frustrated in relationship, lack of confidence, self-sabotage, fear, ego issues, jealousy. Yes, this tells me there has been a lot of inner struggle on their side. They may have questioned whether they could handle what they feel. They may have worried about what happens if they say too much, show too much, or risk too much. And for some of you, they may have gone back and forth between wanting to come forward and trying to suppress the whole thing because the intensity scared them. Here is retreat. Time alone or in nature will help you recharge. So I do feel this person has pulled back at different times, not because the feelings disappeared, but because the feelings became overwhelming. I feel like this is someone who withdraws when they do not know how to process what is happening in the heart. They get quieter, they overthink, they revisit everything privately. And that can make it seem like they are detached, when really they are trying not to spill over emotionally. Here is intuitive trust, your inner knowing. And wow, yes, this person knows. I feel deep down they have known for a while that there is something real here, something meaningful, something they cannot simply categorize away. And that is part of why the coming conversation feels so important. It is not going to come out of nowhere. It is coming out of a long period of inner recognition that has finally become too strong to keep buried. Here's the Two of Swords and the Page of Cups. Yes, so we see the same pattern again, blocked expression sitting on top of very tender feeling. I feel like their softer emotional self has wanted to come through for a while. They have wanted to say something, wanted to reach out, wanted to test whether the door is open, but indecision, fear, pride, timing, and uncertainty have kept interrupting that impulse. It is like the heart leans forward and then the mind pulls back. Here is the Eight of Swords and the Devil. Wow, so this person has absolutely felt trapped in something. Trapped in thought patterns, trapped in fear, trapped in an old way of living, trapped in habits of emotional self-control. Maybe even trapped in circumstances that made open expression feel complicated. But the real issue I feel is that they have been carrying the weight of wanting something they could not comfortably admit to themselves, much less to you. And that pressure has been building because when someone keeps trying to suppress living feelings, those feelings do not usually vanish, they usually intensify. And I feel that is exactly what has been happening here. They may have tried to convince themselves they could just stay silent, stay calm, stay distant, keep everything where it was. But inwardly, the connection kept growing roots. It kept becoming more serious, and now it is reaching the point where the truth wants air. Here's the Queen of Swords and the Three of Wands. So I feel like this person knows a real conversation is necessary. They know they cannot keep hovering in the same emotional pattern forever. They know the future of the connection depends on honesty, and I feel they are beginning to see farther ahead now. They are starting to understand that if they want to know whether there is a real path here, they have to ask the question they have been avoiding. They have to risk hearing your answer. For many of you, this person may still look controlled on the outside, but I do not feel controlled on the inside at all. I feel longing, I feel fear, I feel anticipation. I feel the emotional strain of wanting closeness and still not knowing whether it is safe to go after it openly. And that is why the energy feels so sharp right now. They are reaching a threshold where staying quiet has become just as uncomfortable as speaking. And I feel the moment they cross that threshold, they will not be able to pretend this is just passing energy anymore. They are moving toward truth now, and I feel the need to know your answer is becoming impossible for them to ignore. It is getting louder in them now, day by day, too. So let us look at what their intentions are toward you now, because I feel like once someone gets this close to a conversation like that, the energy becomes very revealing. We have the Two of Cups and the Lovers. Wow, yes, their intention is not vague here. This is love, attraction, emotional reciprocity, and a desire to know whether the bond can become mutual in the open, not just in private thought or hidden feeling. With the Two of Cups, I feel like they want closeness, emotional exchange, and the kind of contact that actually lets two people meet in truth. And with the Lovers, I feel like there is also a choice here. Not just a romantic feeling, but a recognition that something important is asking to be acknowledged. The heart has already chosen on some level, and now the rest of life is being asked to catch up with that emotional reality. Here is go slow, take time to get to know each other. And I actually like that so much because it tells me this is not just heat without depth. I feel this person wants something sincere. Yes, the question, do you want me, carries urgency, but beneath that urgency, I still feel a desire to move towards something meaningful. Something that can breathe, something that can actually be built instead of rushed and then damaged by pressure. Here is healthy choices, making healthy choices in love and in life, self-love, self-care, being happier. Wow. This tells me that even if the path here has been messy or emotionally complex, the deeper direction of the energy is toward truth and alignment. I feel like this person is recognizing that living in half-truth has been draining them. Staying emotionally split has been draining them. And now they want to move towards something cleaner, more real, more life-giving. Now, let us take a look at what is blocking them. We have the Fool, clarified by the Ace of Pentacles. Yes, so I do not feel the block is lack of feeling at all. I feel the block is the size of the new beginning, because once they ask this question, and once your answer comes in, life may not be able to stay arranged the way it was before. This is not a tiny flirtation. This is a doorway, and I feel they know that for some of you, there may absolutely be practical concerns around this timing, work, distance, family, old commitments, image, responsibility, emotional history. And I do not want to pretend those things are meaningless, but I also feel like the Ace of Pentacles is saying they know this could become something substantial. They know this could become a real path, a real bond, something stable and life-changing, and that is why the risk feels both exciting and frightening to them. Here is Judgment and the Knight of Cups. Wow, so there is awakening here, and there is emotional motion. Judgment feels like the moment where a person can no longer remain asleep to what the heart is telling them. And the Knight of Cups tells me they do want to come towards you. They do want to express. They do want romance, or at the very least, a real emotional opening that finally lets the truth between you breathe. I also feel like this person is tired of standing still in the middle, tired of analyzing, tired of imagining, tired of wondering what you feel. They want an answer, they want direction, and I feel that is why the conversation has such a direct tone in the title. Do you want me? Not maybe one day, not hinting from a distance. This feels like someone who has reached the point where they need to know if their hope has somewhere to land. Here is the Six of Swords and the Ten of Wands. So I do feel there is a transition happening here. They are mentally and emotionally moving away from a pattern that has become too heavy to keep carrying. For some of you, that heaviness comes from silence. For others, from emotional self-suppression. For others, from trying to keep life orderly while the heart keeps moving in a different direction. But whatever the exact shape is, I feel they are getting tired of the burden. And that fatigue matters because once the old way becomes too exhausting, truth starts looking less dangerous than denial. I feel like your person is entering that kind of turning point. The question is not only whether they care, the question is whether they can keep living as if this does not matter. And I do not think they can. That is why the intention feels serious. This is not playful energy. This is someone feeling the weight of what they want. I also keep getting that if they do come in, there may be a softness under the intensity, maybe nervousness, maybe hesitation, maybe vulnerability in the eyes or voice. Because I feel this person knows that asking you this question exposes them. It puts their heart in your hands to some degree. And for someone who has tried very hard to stay in control, that is a major thing. But I still feel the desire for truth is becoming stronger than the comfort of holding back. It is time. Now let us move into the near future of this connection, because I feel like once the energy reaches this level, it cannot stay suspended the same way for very long. We have Truth Be Told and the Ace of Swords. Wow, yes. So the near future feels like clarity, it feels like revelation, it feels like things that have been held in the chest finally making their way into actual words. And I feel that is why this whole reading carries such a sharp turning point. What has been unspoken is preparing to become spoken. Here is the Knight of Swords, and wow, this adds momentum right away. I do feel there could be a sudden quality to this, maybe faster than you expect. Maybe not in the exact setting you pictured, but I feel something is building quickly enough that once it starts moving, it may feel like the silence breaks all at once. And that makes sense because people often hold things in until they simply cannot anymore. And then the words come with force. Here is date, meeting someone, getting back out there, plan or set a date. Wow, yes, for many of you, I absolutely feel a meeting energy around this. A real talk, a real moment, maybe not just a message and then disappearing again, but a conversation that wants presence, wants directness, wants to actually feel the other person there, because I do not think this energy is satisfied with distance anymore. It wants embodiment. Here is trust again. This situation is calling for you to have faith, and I feel spirit keeps repeating this because the movement may happen in waves. There may be an opening, then reflection, then more opening, then more truth. But overall, the direction feels very strong. This does not feel like a connection fading into less. It feels like a connection trying to become more honest, more tangible, and more emotionally real. Here is the moon, followed by the sun. Wow, wow, that is such a beautiful progression because it tells me exactly what is happening. What has lived in uncertainty, secrecy, fear, intuition, and late night overthinking is moving toward visibility, warmth, openness, and clarity. The moon is all the unspoken feelings, the things sensed but not proven. The sun is what can no longer stay hidden once it is ready to live in the light. Here is the Ace of Wands and the Two of Cups. Yes, so there is spark here, movement here, desire here, and mutual emotional energy here. I feel that once the talk begins, the connection may feel very alive very quickly because so much has been held back, and once held back energy gets room to move, it often moves strongly. For many of you, there is chemistry here, emotional recognition here, and a sense that the bond itself has been waiting to step into a more visible form. I also feel like this conversation may not be perfectly polished. There could be nerves, blurting, emotion, pauses, maybe even awkwardness at first. But I do not feel that takes away from the sincerity. If anything, it may prove just how much this matters, because when a person cares deeply, they do not always deliver the words in a flawless way. Sometimes the truth trembles when it comes out. Sometimes it arrives with more vulnerability than structure. And I feel that may be part of what makes it real. Here is the Wheel of Fortune and Judgment. Wow. So yes, major turning point, fate, timing, awakening, karmic movement. I feel like something that has been circling in the background is finally reaching its moment. And for many of you, it may feel surreal when it starts happening because the energy has been building for a long time and then suddenly it is there. No longer abstract, no longer only intuitive, but right in front of you asking for a response. For some of you, this talk may open the door to a completely different phase between you, a phase where the connection is no longer based only on sensing. It begins to have language. It begins to have decisions. It begins to have shared awareness. And that is why this will change everything. Because once two people know that both people know the old emotional arrangement cannot stay intact, ambiguity starts losing its power. Truth starts creating momentum. And after it happens, I do not feel either of you will be able to return to the old emotional distance in quite the same way. The truth will have entered the space between you, and once that happens, the bond starts asking for a new shape, a new level, and a more honest way forward very, very soon. So let us get your advice now, because I feel like when a connection reaches this kind of turning point, the heart can become both hopeful and overwhelmed at the same time. We have the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords with conflict. And to me, this says stay clear, stay observant, and let truth unfold without abandoning yourself in the process. Because yes, I feel the talk is coming. Yes, I feel it matters, but Spirit still wants you rooted in your own worth, your own discernment, and your own emotional balance. Here is not today, not dealing, hurt, avoiding a conversation, call, person, boundaries, still angry. And I actually think this is important. Because Spirit is not saying you have to rush into instant resolution the moment the words arrive, it is okay to breathe. It is okay to process. It is okay if part of you still needs reassurance, honesty, and real consistency before you let your whole heart run forward. Your feelings matter, but so does your peace. Here is my life as an experiment. I embrace the exploration, and I love this as advice for you. Because it is reminding you not to put your whole life on pause around this moment. Keep living, keep staying open to beauty, to growth, to joy, to new experiences, to your own expansion. The more connected you stay to yourself, the more clearly you will know what is aligned when this connection begins revealing its next shape. I also feel Spirit is saying, do not shrink what you want in order to make the conversation easier for the other person. If you want sincerity, say that. If you want openness, say that. If you want openness, say that. If you want something that can be lived in the real world, let that truth stand. Because this reading is not about begging for crumbs. It is about a bond that is trying to move toward honesty. And honesty includes your heart too, not only theirs. Now let us get a shadow message from this person. We have, I am scared of what your answer will mean for my life. Wow. Yes, that feels very real because I do not think this person is only afraid of hearing. No. I think they are also afraid of hearing yes, because yes would make everything more real, more immediate, more impossible to keep compartmentalized. And that confirms again that this conversation carries weight. It is not light, it changes the landscape. Now let us get a light message from them. I cannot keep wondering anymore. Wow, you guys, that is the whole reading in one sentence. This person is tired of living in emotional uncertainty. They are tired of carrying desire without direction. They are tired of hoping and not knowing whether the bond they feel is truly shared in the way they dream it is. And that is why the energy has reached this point. The wondering has become too heavy. Here is another message. I replay the moments between us all the time. Yes. And I feel for many of you, it is not only the obvious big moments, it is the subtle ones, the glances, the pauses, the shifts in tone, the little exchanges that may have looked ordinary to everyone else, but felt charged to the two of you. This person has been carrying those moments. They have meaning to them. They have been feeding the feeling. And here is another one. I need the truth, even if it shakes me. Wow. Yes, that is exactly the kind of energy we have been seeing all the way through this reading. The heart has reached the point where uncertainty feels harder than honesty. And when a person gets there, the conversation often becomes inevitable. Maybe not perfectly planned, maybe not perfectly timed, but inevitable in essence. Truth starts insisting on itself. Let us get a few more messages. I want to know if there is really a chance for us. I have been trying to stay in control, but my feelings are stronger now. I keep getting pulled back to you. I do not think this is random. And I feel exposed even thinking about asking, wow, yes, this person is very aware that opening this door changes things. But I also feel they are more aware now that leaving it closed has been hurting them too. So that is what I have for you. And I really hope this brought you clarity, reassurance, and a sense of where the energy is heading. If this did not fully resonate, of course, take what resonates and leave the rest, because this is a collective reading and timing can be a little different for everyone. But I will say this, the message here feels strong. A serious conversation is coming. Do you want me? And I do feel that once those words start moving, the whole connection begins changing form. I also feel strongly that Spirit wants you to trust your knowing here, because your intuition has probably been telling you that something was approaching, maybe not the exact wording, maybe not the exact day, but the pressure of the moment, the shift in energy, the sense that the bond could not stay suspended forever. And I feel that inner knowing deserves to be honored. You have been feeling the movement before confirmation. The heart can become both hopeful and overwhelmed at the same time. We have the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords with conflict. And to me, this says stay clear, stay observant, and let truth unfold without abandoning yourself in the process. Because yes, I feel the talk is coming. Yes, I feel it matters, but Spirit still wants you rooted in your own worth, your own discernment, and your own emotional balance. Here is not today, not dealing, hurt, avoiding a conversation, call person, boundaries, still angry. And I actually think this is important. Because Spirit is not saying you have to rush into instant resolution the moment the words arrive, it is okay to breathe. It is okay to process. It is okay if part of you still needs reassurance, honesty, and real consistency before you let your whole heart run forward. Your feelings matter, but so does your peace. Here is my life is an experiment. I embrace the exploration, and I love this as advice for you. Because it is reminding you not to put your whole life on pause around this moment. Keep living, keep staying open to beauty, to growth, to joy, to new experiences, to your own expansion. The more connected you stay to yourself, the more clearly you will know what is aligned when this connection begins revealing its next shape. I also feel Spirit is saying do not shrink what you want in order to make the conversation easier for the other person. If you want sincerity, say that. If you want openness, say that. If you want openness, say that. If you want something that can be lived in the real world, let that truth stand. Because this reading is not about begging for crumbs. It is about a bond that is trying to move toward honesty. And honesty includes your heart too, not only theirs. Now let us get a shadow message from this person. We have, I am scared of what your answer will mean for my life. Wow. Yes, that feels very real because I do not think this person is only afraid of hearing. No. I think they are also afraid of hearing yes, because yes would make everything more real, more immediate, more impossible to keep compartmentalized. And that confirms again that this conversation carries weight. It is not light, it changes the landscape. Now let us get a light message from them. I cannot keep wondering anymore. Wow, you guys, that is the whole reading in one sentence. This person is tired of living in emotional uncertainty. They are tired of carrying desire without direction. They are tired of hoping and not knowing whether the bond they feel is truly shared in the way they dream it is. And that is why the energy has reached this point. The wondering has become too heavy. Here is another message. I replay the moments between us all the time. Yes. And I feel for many of you, it is not only the obvious big moments, it is the subtle ones, the glances, the pauses, the shifts in tone, the little exchanges that may have looked ordinary to everyone else, but felt charged to the two of you. This person has been carrying those moments. They have meaning to them. They have been feeding the feeling. And here is another one. I need the truth, even if it shakes me. Wow. Yes, that is exactly the kind of energy we have been seeing all the way through this reading. The heart has reached the point where uncertainty feels harder than honesty. And when a person gets there, the conversation often becomes inevitable. Maybe not perfectly planned, maybe not perfectly timed, but inevitable in essence. Truth starts insisting on itself. Let us get a few more messages. I want to know if there is really a chance for us. I have been trying to stay in control, but my feelings are stronger now. I keep getting pulled back to you. I do not think this is random. And I feel exposed even thinking about asking, wow, yes, this person is very aware that opening this door changes things. But I also feel they are more aware now that leaving it closed has been hurting them too. So that is what I have for you. And I really hope this brought you clarity, reassurance, and a sense of where the energy is heading. If this did not fully resonate, of course, take what resonates and leave the rest, because this is a collective reading and timing can be a little different for everyone. But I will say this, the message here feels strong. A serious conversation is coming. Do you want me? And I do feel that once those words start moving, the whole connection begins changing form. I also feel strongly that Spirit wants you to trust your knowing here, because your intuition has probably been telling you that something was approaching, maybe not the exact wording, maybe not the exact day, but the